Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 1090 Jake, and I'm rocking with y'all, and y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're going to be speaking on a controversial case out of Florida. A 14-year-old boy was brutally stabbed, and police are saying it was a random attack, but others are saying it was a hate crime. November 15th, 2021, it was 6:40 in the evening when 14-year-old Ryan Rogers took his bike for a ride in his Palm Beach Gardens neighborhood. It would be the last time he ever rode that bike and the last time he was seen alive. Roughly 4 hours passed before his mother reported him missing to law enforcement, fear consuming her thoughts, as time went by with no word from police and no signs of her son. Neighbors, friends, and surrounding communities would volunteer to help search for the teen, and the following morning, his body was found. He laid by a bike in a wooded area out of plain sight, and approximately 24 feet from the sidewalk on Central Boulevard near the I-95 overpass. News of his death sent devastating waves through the community, and limited details were released by police. Ryan was only a freshman, his school addressing his death to students and families in what they described as a tragic accident. As many assumed, this was a hit and run. But in the days to come, the evil that hid in the darkness slowly crawled to the light. Investigators were able to recreate the path traveled by Ryan, and almost an hour after he left home at approximately 7:30 p.m., he rode his bike on the Interstate 95 overpass. 1 minute later, his cell phone data would reveal he stopped traveling. Nearby video surveillance showed a single individual walking on Central Boulevard sidewalk at 7:20 p.m. He was heading in the direction of the victim, and the distance between the two was calculated by investigators, estimating they would have crossed paths at 7:31. An autopsy was conducted on Ryan's body, revealing he was repeatedly stabbed in his face and stabbed in his head, his manner of death being ruled a homicide. A pair of headphones were found at the scene of the murder, and contact with Ryan's family would reveal they didn't belong to him. The forensics unit swabbed the headphones for DNA, which was then submitted into a database where a positive match identified a suspect. Semi Williams Jr., a 39-year-old homeless drifter, had a long history of random acts of violence spanning 3 different states. From 21 to 24 years old, he'd be arrested 8 different times in Seminole County, Florida, for charges ranging from domestic violence battery, carrying a concealed weapon, and violating a protection order against a domestic violence victim. In 2014, he'd be arrested in Fulton County, Georgia, and according to the court records, charged with aggravated assault by strangulation and battery on a person 65 years or older. His victim would describe in a news interview being attacked at random, thrown in a ditch, and strangled as Semi had his knee in his back, pinning him to the ground. Semi had allegedly told him he didn't want his money, he knew his type, and wanted to finish him.
Very sorry that it happened. It shouldn't be dead. He should be alive.
News of Ryan Rogers' murder has Dennis Brinks looking back 7 years when the man accused of killing Rogers ambushed him on an Atlanta sidewalk, tried to strangle him to death, then tossed him into a ditch.
He's a killing machine. And I know what he does is he stakes it out, he hides, then somebody comes along, he throws him off guard, and then he just finishes them, and he gets this intense pleasure, just brutalizing you. Sorry, I tried to get this guy put away, and they wouldn't help me.
The victim was saved by someone who happened to be walking by at the time, scaring him off, and Semi was facing up to 20 years in prison, spending 3 years in the Fulton County Jail where he wrote strange letters to the judge, claiming he was being raped by inmates, targeted by jail staff, and was even injected with an STD. In another letter, he claimed to have been raped over 10 times with a piece of metal, his food drugged, and 3 teeth knocked out of his mouth. Facing up to 21 years in prison for his crimes, the judge accepted Semi's request for first offender treatment based on the fact that he had no felony convictions, sentencing him to 5 years in prison with 3 years credit for his time in jail and mental institutions. Semi would be released in the next 24 months. December 1st, 2021, Semi Williams was taken into custody in Miami. He had a YouTube channel which has since been deleted, and police were able to use it while tracking him down, as he took videos around Miami and specifically at a non-profit that served the homeless. He'd allegedly traveled from Palm Beach to Miami by the Tri-Rail, and at the time of his arrest, he was in possession of a green backpack. Inside of the backpack was a green bandana with what appeared to be blood stains. Forensics would confirm it was blood belonging to two people, Semi Williams and Ryan Rogers. Semi was charged with first-degree murder, but the motive still remains a mystery. Was he robbing Ryan for his bike, or was he targeting white victims, as some have started to claim? But the police, they're stating this was truly a random act of violence. This guy obviously has a history of mental health issues, and you can tell that just by reading the fucking letters he was writing to the judge. But he was not all the way there. In his YouTube videos, he basically spoke on these conspiracy theories that this world organization of police were after him, tracking him, and people are allegedly saying he was now pinned for this murder. But the amount of evidence in this case, it's like, who else would it have fucking been? They found headphones at the scene of the murder that had his DNA. They found him 11 days or however many days later in Miami with a bandana that had the kid's blood. And then they have him on video walking towards where the murder took place before it even happened. I don't know what else they need for a fucking conviction. My whole thing is this: if someone is deemed mentally ill and can't control themselves, that means the responsibility lies on someone else, right? The judge in Atlanta had the option to give him up to 21 years, ended up giving him 5 with 3 already served. Had he been given 8, this murder would have never happened. Had he been given to a mental institution, this possibly still could have been prevented. I don't understand who was responsible for him at the time. Buddy was homeless. And in a report, it basically stated this guy was a danger to everyone. And all that happened was that danger was just sent to a different jurisdiction. The judge in Atlanta, hey, give him 2 years and let him out. And wherever he goes, he goes. We see this in a lot of different cases where people claim there's a mental health issue or they have all these problems which led to what happened. But for this specific case, he needs to be held accountable. He doesn't need to get out anymore because obviously he can't control himself. And whoever had responsibility over him, even that judge in Atlanta, needs to be held accountable. They just held accountable the 2 parents that basically gave access to a kid to go shoot up a school. If you got someone that's crazy and you know they're crazy and you let them out, whatever happens falls on you, right? Because they're not responsible for themselves. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Let me hear y'all's thoughts and opinions. It's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, y'all rocking with me. Until next time.